All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe everything I have commanded you, and behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. So much packed into this great commission that Jesus has given us. But just think about that word at the very beginning of verse 19, go. In light of the fact that Jesus has all authority, that he's worthy of all praise and all glory, that he has died on a cross, risen from the grave, ascended into heaven, and he will save all who trust in him from their sins forever. He will not only save them from their sins, he will fill them with his Spirit, that they might experience life as God has created them to live. They might be born again, new life. So in light of the fact that he has authority to do that through this message, we go. Many of you may know that's a participle in Matthew 28:19. It's as you are going, make disciples. So this is what you do as you go. You make disciples. You proclaim the gospel. See people baptized in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You teach people to obey everything Christ has commanded us. This is what we do. Jesus was clearly not telling these disciples on a mountainside to stay there for a long time. He was not telling them to just go down and gather together and disciple each other. He was telling them to go and make this good news known. And he told them where to go. He told them to go to all the nations. Panta, ethne, all the ethnic groups. So not nations like we might think of geopolitical entities today, around 200 or so United Nations. He's talking about all the people groups, all the tribes, the tongues, the clans, the families. What we see in Revelation chapter 5, Revelation chapter 7, every people, nation, tribe, language. We're to go to all of them. So that starts right where we are. We know this is the way it played out in Acts chapter 1, verse 8. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you to be witnesses in Jerusalem, and then from Jerusalem into Judea and Samaria and into the ends of the earth. So we go. Think about how this transforms our lives today. We get up in the morning, we walk out of our houses. Even before we walk out of our houses, there is a going that's happening where we live. We make disciples. We proclaim the gospel in our homes. We lead people in our home to know Jesus, to trust in Jesus, to be identified with Jesus, to obey everything Jesus has commanded. This command to go plays out before you even walk out of your house or your apartment building, your dorm room in the morning. And then as you go out in the world, this is what you've been commanded to do, commissioned to do. You are filled with the Holy Spirit of God. I'm filled with the power of God's Spirit for the accomplishment of this mission, to go. And as I go to do this work, to proclaim this gospel, to see people baptized, to teach people to obey Christ, to experience the life that God has intended us, created us to live. What an opportunity, what a privilege, what a stewardship we've been given, and it's all day long. This is what we've been commissioned to do until we lay our heads on our pillows at night, and then we get up the next morning, we do the next same thing. We do that right where we live, and then Matthew 28:19 compels us to go wherever he leads. There are 7,000 people groups, ethne, who have little to no knowledge of the gospel right now. Disciples have not been made there. Churches have not been planted there. Over a couple of billion people. And Jesus has given us a clear command, not just to make disciples and to go just generally into the world. He has told us to go specifically to all the nations. And so as we go and make disciples right where we live, we all must be open to make disciples wherever he leads. And so I would encourage you just to look at your sphere of influence right now and right where you live and say, God, I want to go every day. I want to be a part of making disciples right where I live. And then, God, here's my life. Here's my family. Here's my future. I want to make disciples wherever you might lead. I want to go wherever you call me to go. Today and in the days to come, wherever you want me to go, so that disciples might be made in all the nations. This is the commission we've been given. And the beauty is, one day it will be accomplished, and peoples, nations, tribes, they'll all be gathered around the throne of our King. All authority in heaven and earth has been given to him. He will receive the glory he is due, and it will be because in God's sovereign grace and plan, he commissioned us to go, and we were obedient. May it be said of our lives that we were obedient to this command to go, and we will see the fruit of our going in the praise of our King for all of eternity.